Good day, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good. We might have a little bit of noise. I have my dishwasher going and my water pump is pretty close. We are going to enclose it and insulate it, but yeah, we had to just work on it about, not long ago here. We had to replace it and replace the sand point and put things back in the ground. So, um, anyway, so if it gets a little noisy, I'll just work through it. It'll only be for a couple minutes if it is at all. So, I hope you're all doing really good. I think I did say that. I've been listening to off and on Professor Sam Vaknin this morning. He's got, and it goes right in line what I've been thinking all night. Successful relationships with borderlines and narcissists, because I know a lot of people, including myself, that have been cheated on, and the narcissistic and borderline personalities have a tendency to not be very stable in relationships. Um, I want people to know this. You need to know this of me. I got on YouTube looking for some type of minister or somebody that I could find that was smart enough to reach Doug's heart in a spiritual manner. I was looking for some type of religious leader that could help his heart, a man. Somebody besides myself, somebody that he could look to his own gender and see strength that he could befriend. And that's why I started listening to, a few different channels and made friends with a few people that I did. And these people, most of them know of me. I gave Doug a letter of divorcement probably not long after we were married. I wanted him to have I moved out once. I moved to the neighbors, but moved back in because my adult kid was still here with him. Neither here nor there. This is my home. Um, I'm not going anywhere like that. I never would anyway. But the reason I gave him that paper is so he can take it in at any time. You're sick of me? Go do something about it. To give him that freedom, not me. I have been put in a position where cheaters have sent people, like, they'll go out and cheat. Not Doug, but I'm talking in my life. And send somebody to me to see if I'm going to do the same thing while they're gone. That type of trying to set me up to join in the reindeer games that I have never been a part of. And that goes for, like, okay, I'm learning Greek over on Lady Babylon. I am never going to be a Satanist. Um, my faith in God is too strong, whether or not people see something different in life or in their hearts. I'm not them. I can't speak for them, but I do know and I do recognize when people have been hurt as bad as I have, that they'll um or it's not hurt. They're actually just slutty and they think everybody else is too. That type of feeling. But when I tell somebody I love your heart or your mind, I'm speaking the truth. I'm not taking you in my bed. I don't do that with anybody, not even Doug. I have to, in the ether go before my Father with my desires, 'cause that's the only place I have to go. I'm human, for fuck's sake. You get that at all? You got any kind of inclination in there? What that strength feels like to control myself? So don't ever put me down or put me in a category where I don't belong. Here's a for instance. If the democracy of the ancient Greeks came back and there were, say, like Bacchan celebrations in the streets, would I join in? No. Why? Because there's things morally that I don't care to see. I don't care to be a part of. I don't want somebody in my life getting that close to me that is acceptable of things that I don't want to be around. So I had somebody else thinking, accusing me of betraying God. And the other person, shame on me? No, shame on you. You don't abuse the abused twice for something somebody else did to them. You obviously, or maybe you have, been raped. This is all like a real personal level situation, me opening my heart and my mind for people. Is there any appreciation for the truth in this up world, people? Is there? Don't demean me on somebody else's merits or lack of merits. You know, if I treated people out there the way I've been treated, or think of everybody because of the way I've been treated, I wouldn't even be trying to make any kind of friends. And I told Doug, if you emotionally cannot give me what I need, I am emotionally going to find friends, man, woman, child, old, young, I don't care. I'm gathering people around me that love me for me and get who I am from the inside out. I'm not your average bear. And the first one that will be honest to you about my honesty is Doug. There's nothing I say on here, nothing I do on here that he doesn't know about. Not one thing. So, yeah, okay. I did come back to Minnesota to specifically hunt the head of the Dark Cabal. I did not know he would show up at my doorstep at a friend of mine, his house that I was remodeling. I was thinking about buying it. It was an old Victorian house that I was remodeling to stay there. Doug pulls up, and the first thing he saw out of me was a dirty look. This was like 35 years ago, or yeah, thereabouts. You know, he couldn't figure out why I was looking at him like that. Well, to me, and he pulled up on this great big Fat Boy wide glide Harley Davidson, beautiful white bike. Pulls up there, I'm sweeping my porch, and I had on like a sunsuit, so I felt like my personal space was being invaded, you know, because this is a little tiny town I was living in of, God, maybe 70 people at the time. So for somebody just to drive up there and be there, it was kind of weird anyway. So I was a working mom at the time, so I was trying to get my housework done, and here this joker pulls up. Well, in the meantime, we find out that one of my childhood friends and him had been friends, and we had been hearing about each other all our lives. And I used to see him, Doug, with his daughter on his motorcycle way back when. Um, but he did get cheated on, and he kicked her and the girl out. Well, she left or whatever, whatever. But we had something in common that gave us a friendship, and that was being cheated on and lied to, you know? So, um, there's certain things that I was promised that he would never do to me, and he knew I was never going to do nothing like that. He saw multitudes of men and women coming trying to get with me. He saw it for himself, and he'd see my reaction. So it wasn't anything that he ever had to worry about. And I wasn't ever going to worry about again in my life. Um, I wasn't ever going to get close enough for somebody to hurt me like that ever again in my life. And neither was he. So that's where we're at. This is what this is all about. So, yeah. And it still is a matter of chemistry and not mind control, but control of the mind, and who controls themselves better, you know? That would be me, by the way. So, be careful who you put down and don't ever say shame on me. Um, I'm not going to threaten you this time, but if I ever hear the fucking shit again, come and say it to my face successfully and try and get away with that shit. You don't know me at all. So watch yourself. That's all I'm saying. Everybody I've ever met knows that out of me. It's not a doubt in their mind. So just watch yourself. You can't take my heart away from God and the goodness in this world, and you'll never get me to join in any kind of slutty atmosphere at all. If I can't change, if I can't put clothes on people and help them grow up in the sight of others without being lewd or immoral, they're not worth my time. So there's just certain things we don't do in front of other people. Maybe you do, but I don't in my life. I'm that type of matriarch for people in the world. And being lewd and immoral is not in my nature, you know? So, just watch yourself. I'm not even asking you. That's more of a command, but, do whatever you want, I suppose, you know? But people have got hurt for a lot less. You meet me, I'm not somebody that you would like do a cat call at. No, not just my age. I'm talking any time in my life, you know. Like if I were the star on the beach or whatever, you still wouldn't even do that. You'd just take one look in my eyes and you'd say, "Oh, no, I ain't messing with that," you know, because I always had to guard myself. anyway, yeah, it's a little irritating. And I thought about, am I going to get angry or am I going to try and explain this one more time in a loving manner? And I thought, well, there's a few new people that really don't know my personality or what I do in my life. So I thought, well, here goes one more time. So all I can do is say the words. Just like, oh, I love this movie. My oldest son Luke um introduced Doug and I to these movies, Army of Darkness and Army of Darkness too. And there's this book. It's I think it's called the Necronomicon, um, but a book of necromancy. And he's reading this book trying to get this spell right so he can get back in his right time zone. And he said something, and somebody asked him, "Did you say the words right?" You know? It's just funny. It's such they're good shows. Just really, my favorite part is he has to battle this demon. Um, they call her she bitch. Um, she was like looked like this beautiful woman, and then she turned into a demon, and she's battling him down in this like sewer dungeon, and he's like, she got ugly real quick or something like that. Just so funny. Good shows. If you haven't seen them, I'd recommend. Two of my most grody shows that I love were introduced to me by youngsters in my life, and the other one came from a friend of my youngest son, Jonathan, has a friend named Lars. And Lars introduced me to the movies Kill Bill. Uh, he knew because I had my kids messed with. Money allowed my children to be taken out of my home after I spent almost 6 years raising them by myself. Yeah. Their dad married into money, and then when I needed some help financially, he hadn't even seen his kids for over 5 years, not one note. He could have done that. I didn't stop him, not at all. And not at that point. But anyway, so for a while, and it didn't take long, he had custody of my kids till he brought them back. But anyway, that's another story. My kids went into hell, pure in hell, and there wasn't anything I could do to help them. They were 11 and 14 at the time. So, mm. So anyway, Lars knew the pain that I had suffered, um, not having my children in my life. And just a minute. Whew, got me to watch those Kill Bill movies. Oh yeah, martial arts and all that, and sword fighting, and I love it. I love fencing too. So yeah, that just a movie about how I was actually feeling and the demonic force that she battled to try and keep her daughter safe, the whole thing I could relate to so much. If you haven't seen those two sets of movies, you'll be able to understand how I could relate to that at that time in my life. So, yeah. Anyway, so today's a good day. Doug and I had a friend named Jerome, Native American guy, Jerome Skinaway. Um, he had a motto, "It's a good day to die." he died young, unfortunately. It was so cool. He was a blackjack dealer up at another casino that, well, the casino I worked on at was actually built on the land where his family home was, and then they moved a little further north and built this massive establishment. So we were both dealers at the time, but when I was practicing to get my dealer's license, I had already gotten my dealer's license. He came to the house. He was waiting for Doug one day and had a few beers, and I was drinking coffee, and we were playing some blackjack, and I was beating him every hand. It was so cool. He is such a nice person, just golden. He also was ace mechanic, so very fisherman, every all kinds of talents. Just a really super cool person. So, but he had arthritis so bad in his hands, it got where he couldn't even deal anymore. And he wasn't a really big guy. He was almost like just tiny, like one of them 100 pounders, just little blow him away. Uh, But fearless, nonetheless, he would get beat up because he was little and fearless. That happens sometimes. But if you can help it, you can help it. If that's your nature and you're not going to back down, that's just who you are. And especially if you're standing up for yourself in times where other people are putting you down and it's an unjust situation. Oh, yeah. I watched one time these guys were putting him down for as drunk as he was getting. They didn't understand things that was going on in his life at all at that time. And he started singing a song in his native language, Ojibwe, Chippewa. And I understood it, and I told him that it wasn't very nice that I understood that it was actually a war song. You know, he just started laughing. But that's one thing that people don't know. The drums and the exuberant yelling that the natives do, that's war language. That's not their beautiful, like, I shared the most famous lullaby in the world was written by Lakota Sioux, and that's Rockabye Baby. Excuse me. Oops. And they've got some very beautiful tunes in different tribes around the the Americas that I'd like to hear them sing again because they're just not singing their beauty like they should. I think a lot of people are having trouble singing their beauty. You know, just a minute. Don't you dare jump over there. Get down. I'm not going to go through this with you. Get down. Good girl. Just walk away. My cat thinking about jumping up on a shelf. I'm making a video. I'm supposed to be where she can see me and have that control. You know cats. Or do you know cats? This one. I brought her in because she had severed right here, a hole here and here, and broken here and here. Um, Actually, three spots, but I could only tape two of them together. So the severed part, there wasn't really anything I could do. She can put weight on it now and even wave with it, but it was flopping when I first taped her up, and she was wild. I had leather gloves on just in case. But I saw this mangled kitty out there. I take care of the feral cats, and I built them a kitty house, and I got to get out there. It's starting to get cold. Mornings here, we had 40 degrees, not too bad last night, but I have oat straw for bedding that I'm going to put in their little houses that I have for them, hutches and dog houses and different things in there. And I have a video when I was first building it that I showed people what I was doing. Maybe I'll get I need another camera is what I need actually. So for videotaping, like I wanna do like nature walks or something like that, like I actually love to do, but I want to have a good camera to do it. The phone I have, if I point it into the sun or if it gets cold, I have three cell phones and they all do the same thing. They shut off. I'll be recording and move it or do something and psh, it just goes. So, yeah. They're not super cheap or expensive. I got like one's a Samsung Galaxy. It's a couple years old now, but yeah, so I mean they're like not total junk. They just have their idiosyncrasies, I guess. Probably like a lot of people that have been cheated on. They do have their idiosyncrasies. I used to make men jokes that weren't so jokey. Um, I have a tendency to be either kind of like the life of the party or like a real buzzkill, but I never put up with any kind of nonsense. When I first met Doug, he spilt a beer in my dining room. I went and got bleach and Pine Sol and mixed it together, and I mopped his shoes. My ex and him were friends, also, so, and then after I kicked my ex out, Doug and another friend of mine, Vicky, came down to visit me, and then Doug started and I started talking on the phone, but I had some problems down, and I wasn't safe because of people that actually wanted to take my life. So I moved up into a biker community and warring nature, sorta, my way into this environment, proving that I could wipe them all out by things like at parties, or one in particular was threatening Doug's life. This really huge guy. I went and bought a half a pint of whiskey and went over to where he lived, and I took a swig and I gave him a swig. And I said, after I beat you in arm wrestling, you're going to leave Doug alone because my kids are living in that house. And if something happens in this because of you, what I was going to do if he didn't straighten up and fly right. So he thought it was funny. Took a drink of my whiskey, and I put his arm down with my weakest arm, like I usually do. And it pissed him off, but he was afraid to do anything about it. Asked me if that's the first time. So I won my rights around here to even be protected, you know? And at that time, I actually needed it because wasn't the first time that I got rid of psychopaths and they actually had firearms and different things that they were an actual threat in my life, you know. So So what I'm doing here and how I got here, it's even more involved than that, but it is the lightness coming into the dark cabal that was pre-planned by God training me my entire life. I had no clue what I was doing in that Blue Lodge, looking at things like Project Bluebeam and Gematria and um, excerpts out of every language and classic writing and teachings out of the scriptures and the correlations with all of that and heritages and banners and crests and mind-boggling for a 15-year-old, you know? Totally. Even that ritual I went through when I was 12 was one of the totaliest freakiest things in my life that I still can't prove or explain. But there's a lot of weird shit I've been through that was a part of my training that I didn't even know that it was, you know. So, yeah, my life's been a trip, so thank you for your concern. Mm. Professor or Dr. Allman, DC Allman recommended that we were like, if we're like on the toilet practicing our endings to some Greek words, or and then he changed it to exercising. So this morning I'm like doing push-ups and I'm practicing my Greek, and Doug goes, "What?" And I said it again, and I go, "Greek endings," and he's like, "Oh God." He's just like, "No wonder people don't try and learn that, or something like that." I said, "Exactly, because it's too difficult for them. It is kind of fun, and I am getting a grasp of it. Who would think something that looks like an upside down Y would have a L sound to it? That's pretty cool. And our other um, parts of the English alphabets, not all of them sound the same. Like, I think, I could be wrong, but I think a F sounds like a P, things like that. But I'll get more. It'll get easier. It already is. It's already making some sort of sense. Um, but yeah, it's a trip. It's a pretty cool trip though. It really is. If you haven't listened to it, I'd recommend just go look over at You, Lady Babylon. Just look at the first Greek lesson over there. What more could I say? you know, it's not. Uh, it's not Spanish or German or no, so different. It's entirely different. Even Hebrew doesn't have a word in there that was theirs. It's the other way around, you know. So, I mean, there's ancient people that had like neighboring that had words and language that was in common, you know, but you can tell when you start reading the scriptures in ancient Greek, you can tell the whole story of it that doesn't leave you lagging or lapsing or turning back to a different chapter or any of that to find out what's going on in another one because it's complete in the understanding, you know? You don't have to guess because there's more of it there. It's complete like that, or more complete, I should say. And just think about all the texts that haven't been translated yet. That's why I'm just thrilled to hear that people are um, becoming fluent in that language and sharing it with other people. You know, hey, I may not be fluent, but it's still not going to stop me from sharing somebody that is and promoting them for that. You know, if that's not appreciated, that's cool because I've worked in my life with what I do well may not be what somebody else does well. Well, nobody else could have done what I've done in a lot of areas. So, like I am right now. Doesn't matter if you speak ancient Greek, you're still not a female out here with my strength like that as that example for everybody else. That's what I do well from the depths of my heart and as a friend. So be careful not to tread on that because, like I said, everybody that meets me knows better after that. They may not do what's right after that, but they know better. So, well, I'm going to get this uploaded. I do appreciate you joining me. Um, I'm going to have a wonderful day. I hope you do too. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. I gotta say it. Have a good night or day wherever you're at.